Stop for a moment. Don't move. Listen carefully, because something is happening to you right now. Something that your spirit has felt, but your mind has not yet understood. It rises like a trembling in the unseen, like a vibration in the deepest chamber of your soul, pulling you into alignment with a revelation that has been trying to reach you for years. The air around you shifts, the atmosphere thickens, and for a brief second you can feel the invisible world leaning closer, whispering, waiting, preparing to uncover what has secretly shaped your battles, your delays, your breakthroughs, and the war over your destiny. There is a reason your heart stirs, your skin reacts, and your thoughts go silent. Because in this moment, the realm of the divine is opening a door, and I am placing you inside it. You are not watching this by accident. You were guided here, pulled here, summoned here by a truth that has been circling your life like a storm, waiting for permission to release its reign. And now, the permission has finally come. Before you go any further, write your warmest wishes in the comments and seal them with 777 as your activation code. Because this moment is not passive. Your agreement is part of the revelation unfolding over you. As you type, let your heart speak from the place that has been hurting, longing, reaching, and hoping. And mark it with 777 as a signal to the divine that you are ready to step into knowledge that the enemy has always feared you would discover. After you write it, like this video as a declaration of alignment and subscribe with intention, because what is being revealed to you carries weight, and affirmation opens spiritual pathways. What is unfolding here is something the darkness has desperately tried to keep from you, something it hoped you would never recognize, never confront, never awaken to. And now it is being brought into the light. This is not entertainment. This is a moment of divine confrontation. Obey this instruction now. There is something ancient inside you, something that has waited across years, seasons, and timelines to be awakened. It does not live in your mind. It lives in your spiritual DNA, woven into you long before your birth, long before this life, long before the pain that shaped you or the battles that tried to break you. It is a code written into your being, a divine imprint that has been dormant, like a seed buried beneath layers of fear, confusion, disappointment, and spiritual interference. Every time you felt a sudden pull toward truth, every time your heart burned for something higher, every time you sensed meaning behind your suffering, that dormant code flickered like a spark beneath the surface. And now, as you listen, that spark is turning into a pulse, a frequency, a shift, a slow, deliberate activation that begins in the invisible fibers of your soul and radiates outward into the consciousness you use to navigate this world. You have never truly understood why certain cycles kept repeating in your life, why betrayal kept finding you, why delays shadowed your breakthroughs, Why the people you trusted suddenly changed without warning. Why moments that felt promising collapsed in your hands as if something unseen was pushing against you. But hear this clearly. Those patterns were not coincidences. They were signs of interference, evidence of opposition, indicators that something powerful inside you was trying to awaken, and darkness was scrambling to hold it down. Hidden forces have studied you, watched you, observed your vulnerabilities, and attempted to shape your life in ways that would keep you unaware of your own spiritual design. But even with all their strategies, they failed to extinguish the one thing they could never reach, the divine imprint inside you that is rising right now. Feel that pull in your chest, that heaviness behind your ribs, that sudden clarity that begins to wash over your thoughts like warm light breaking through storm clouds. That is not emotion. It is activation, divine rewiring, a realignment of frequencies that pulls your soul back into resonance with the truth that was assigned to you before you ever walked the earth. Angels have been working in the unseen, performing what can only be described as spiritual surgery, repairing fractures created by trauma, removing spiritual toxins deposited through past relationships, clearing pathways that were blocked through generational burdens. They have been reconstructing your inner world cell by cell, repairing the parts of you that even you didn't know were damaged. This is why you have felt tired for no reason, restless at night, sensitive to energies around you, suddenly uninterested in certain people, unable to tolerate what you once accepted. The shift has already begun, and now the veil is thinning. You are beginning to see the truth behind your own life in a way you were never allowed to see before. Things you brushed off as coincidences now reveal themselves as warnings. People who drained you now appear as lessons. Doors that closed now show themselves as protection. Your intuition has been sharpening, not by accident, but because the divine has been preparing you to step into knowledge that would change the way you walk, the way you choose, the way you fight, and the way you discern. You are entering a level of understanding that was previously locked to you, not because you were unworthy, but because the timing had not yet aligned. Now it has. There is a reason the darkness resisted this moment, a reason you faced sudden distractions, emotional heaviness, unnecessary conflict, waves of fear, fatigue, confusion, and spiritual dullness right before this message reached you. You were being pulled away from the doorway you are now stepping into. Because once you see what is being revealed, you cannot unsee it. Once you understand the depth of what has been happening around you, you become a threat to everything that once controlled you. The invisible forces that hovered over your life knew that the moment you awakened, the moment your spiritual senses aligned, the moment your inner codes reactivated, you would break every pattern, cancel every assignment sent against you, and destroy everything built on your ignorance. And that moment is beginning now. Something is happening in the deepest part of your being. The divine is reaching into the hidden layers of your soul, pulling forward memories you don't consciously remember. Eden memories, ancient intuition, the kind of knowing that comes from a place untouched by trauma or time. These are not memories of events, but memories of identity, of origin, of purpose. They rise like echoes in your spirit, reminding you of a truth you once knew but forgot as you walked through a world designed to silence you. And now the echoes are becoming louder, clearer, sharper. They come as impressions, instincts, sudden realizations, unexplained clarity, spiritual déjà vu that pulls you into a sense of recognition. I have been here before. I have known this before. I have carried this knowing somewhere inside me. Every emotional storm you survived has been preparing your inner atmosphere for what is being released right now. Every heartbreak was a cutting away of false attachments. Every betrayal was a revelation of misaligned souls. Every disappointment cleared space in your spirit, where greater truth could finally settle. You were not being broken. You were being restructured. You were not being abandoned. You were being rerouted. You were not being punished. You were being purified. Divine reconstruction has been happening quietly, without your awareness, like roots forming in darkness before the tree breaks through the soil. And tonight, the soil is breaking. The atmosphere around you tightens the moment you step into this next part, as if the unseen world has paused its movement just to watch what will unfold inside you now. The shift is subtle at first, a warmth along your spine, a trembling in your breath, a pressure between your eyebrows that feels like an ancient door creaking open. But then it hits in a wave, heavy and undeniable, like walking into a room where something sacred already arrived before you. You are entering deeper territory now. The revelations that hovered around you in whispers are beginning to speak with clarity. The veil is thinning, and your spirit is remembering what your mind has forgotten. You have crossed a threshold, and nothing, not fear, not confusion, not the shadows that chased you through past seasons, can drag you back behind it. You were born for this moment, shaped for it, woven for it before your first breath. And now that the light is touching the hidden architecture of your being, you cannot return to the level of sight you once lived with. Your soul is expanding, awakening, stretching into forgotten dimensions of itself. There has always been a question inside you, a quiet ache, a subtle pull, a sense that your life has carried a deeper storyline than the one your circumstances suggested. You felt it when you looked at people you loved and wondered why your heart didn't speak the same language as theirs. You felt it when you stood in moments of celebration, but sensed invisible battles raging behind the joy. You felt it when you walked away from people who were good to you on the surface, but wrong for your destiny beneath. And you felt it most during your private nights, when the world was asleep and you lay awake with a burning you couldn't explain. That burning was not anxiety. It was recognition, a knowing that your spirit was made for revelations beyond the reach of ordinary understanding. A knowing that the things you were drawn to, the things you resisted, the things you endured, the things you lost, all of it was part of a coded preparation. You have walked through seasons when you felt spiritually numb, emotionally drained, mentally scattered, unable to grasp what direction you were supposed to follow. But today I tell you, that was not confusion. That was interference. That was the residue of spiritual battles fought around you, attempting to distort your perception so you would never realize what you were becoming. Every delay you experienced, every door that slammed shut, every relationship that suddenly fractured without logical explanation, these were not random events. They were coordinated obstructions, placed strategically to keep you from stepping into a truth that would expose the tactics used against you since childhood. You felt misunderstood your whole life because darkness understood you too well. You were pushed away from certain people because heaven needed you separated. You were attacked by energies you couldn't name because your spirit was rising into a power those forces hoped you would never access. Look back at your life for a moment. Trace the pattern. Whenever you were closest to transformation, chaos hit. Whenever you were about to make a decision that would elevate you, fear invaded. Whenever you felt strong enough to release what was toxic, emotional pressure increased. This was not weakness on your part. This was spiritual targeting. Because there is something inside you, something luminous, ancient, unstoppable, that activates the moment you gain clarity. The invisible forces that monitored your progress knew that if you ever awakened to your origins, if you ever recognized the assignments on your life, if you ever saw the real battlefield you were standing on, then their influence would collapse instantly. And now it is collapsing. With every word you hear, with every layer of spiritual mist that clears from your perception, the power that once surrounded your life is losing its grip. Your senses have been changing lately. You have noticed it without fully understanding it. You are more sensitive to energies around you. You can feel people's intentions before they reveal them. Your sleep has been shifting, either deeper, heavier, filled with symbolic dreams, or interrupted by sudden awakenings at specific hours of the night. These are signs of recalibration, divine rewiring. Your spiritual nervous system is being upgraded, strengthened, sharpened. Angels have been working around you, adjusting frequencies, restoring broken pathways, awakening dormant truth inside your cells. Some nights you felt pressure on your chest, not because of fear, but because something ancient inside you was being unlocked. Some days you felt emotional waves out of nowhere, not because you were unstable, but because fragments of old trauma were being pulled out of your system, exposed to spiritual light and dismantled. There are parts of you that were never meant to live in confusion or fear. Parts of you that were not designed to be manipulated by guilt, insecurity, or unworthiness. Parts of you that remained untouched, unstained, preserved for a moment such as this, so that when the time came, you would awaken with supernatural resilience. That awakening has already begun. Your intuition has sharpened because heaven recalibrated your internal compass. Your desires have shifted because your spirit is rejecting anything that does not match who you are becoming. Your patience with certain people has ended because you no longer carry space for what drains your destiny. Your heart is being pulled toward something higher because the dimension you once lived in can no longer contain the magnitude of who you are. The next phase of your life will require spiritual precision. You will begin to see people clearly, not with your eyes, but with your discernment. You will feel truth before it is spoken. You will sense danger before it arrives. You will know when someone carries peace and when someone carries disruption. This is not paranoia. This is prophetic sensitivity. A spiritual upgrade. Your DNA is remembering its divine origin. Your soul is vibrating on frequencies your ancestors once walked in, but that the world forgot. You are returning to a state of awareness that humanity once held before distraction, deception, and spiritual interference clouded the mind. This is what some call Eden memory, an awakening of the blueprint embedded in your being from the beginning. And when this memory rises, fear can no longer manipulate you, lies can no longer shape you, and darkness can no longer limit you. There will be moments very soon when you feel sudden clarity about people you once trusted. You will feel it like a shift in the air, a certainty, a knowing that is not emotional but spiritual. Some you will release, some you will draw closer, some you will forgive, but not invite back into your inner circle. This clarity is part of the awakening. It is not anger. It is alignment. Heaven is reorganizing your connections, repositioning your spirit, recalibrating your path so that you walk with those who are compatible with your destiny, not just your history. And those who are not aligned with your rise will naturally fall away, not because you forced it, but because the frequency of your future can no longer sustain the weight of their presence. You have not been walking through chaos. You have been walking through construction, divine construction. Heaven has been rebuilding you, restructuring you, preparing you for revelations that will change the way you see everything. Your relationships, your purpose, your battles, your calling, your identity. The next revelation is approaching like thunder rolling in the distance, and when it reaches you, nothing about your inner world will remain the same. The air around you shifts again, heavier than before, as if creation itself is waiting for your next breath. Something rises inside you, a pull, a tightening, a deep awareness that the final revelation is approaching. It feels like standing at the edge of a cliff where the sky meets the unseen, where everything you thought you knew dissolves and only truth remains. Your heartbeat slows, your senses sharpen, and for a moment time bends around you. This is not imagination. This is alignment. This is what happens when the deepest part of your spirit stands face to face with knowledge that was hidden until the exact moment you were strong enough to carry it. You are standing inside a spiritual threshold, and what you are about to understand will rewrite the way you perceive every battle, every emotion, every moment of confusion that shaped your life. You are not merely listening anymore. You are awakening in real time. There is something you must know. something that has followed you through every season, even when you were unaware of it. Your life has never been random. The patterns, the storms, the betrayals, the delays, the sudden endings, all of it formed a map. A coded blueprint designed to pull you toward truth through contrast. You thought you were being punished. You thought you were cursed. You thought you were unlucky. But now the fog clears, and you begin to realize you were being redirected. Every disappointment was a doorway. Every heartbreak was a spiritual incision. Every loss was a divine extraction, removing what could not follow you into the version of yourself you are finally becoming. You were not walking through destruction. You were walking through reconstruction. You were being unmade so you could be rebuilt with clarity instead of confusion, with strength instead of instability, with divine identity instead of wounded identity. Feel what is happening inside you now. The tension, the warmth, the pressure behind your forehead. This is not emotion. This is activation. Your spiritual DNA is recalibrating itself as it absorbs truth you were not able to hold before. You are experiencing what the ancient ones described as a lifting of the veil, a moment when the unseen becomes visible. Not through the eyes, but through the inner knowing, buried beneath your ribs. Your cells begin to vibrate with new frequencies as parts of your soul, long dormant, long silenced, begin to awaken. Angels are not only watching, they are working. They are adjusting your internal atmosphere, sealing fractures created by years of spiritual interference, rearranging the architecture of your inner world so that no lie, no fear, no shadow can enter the place where revelation is now settling. This is divine surgery, precise and intentional, and you can feel it. You always sensed there was more to you, more depth, more intuition, more perception, but you buried it because no one around you understood it. You hid your sensitivity because you were made to feel dramatic. You ignored your intuition because you were taught to trust logic over spirit. You silenced your knowing because the world convinced you that spiritual perception was delusion. But your spirit never agreed. It only waited. And now, as the light expands inside you, that waiting ends. What others dismissed as your imagination was actually your prophetic ability trying to surface. What they called overthinking was actually discernment in its early form. What they called moodiness was your nervous system reacting to energies you weren't yet trained to interpret. And what they called weakness was actually the early stages of your soul remembering who you were designed to be. You are beginning to understand the timing of your life. Why certain friendships dissolved right before major breakthroughs. Why you suddenly felt uneasy around people you once trusted. Why your spirit pushed you away from environments that drained your energy. These were not coincidences. These were evacuations. Heaven pulled you out before destruction reached you. You were protected from downfalls you never saw coming, from betrayals you were not meant to discover, from traps designed to derail your destiny, before you stepped into this awakening. And now that you can see clearly, you understand. What felt like abandonment was actually rescue. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. What felt like isolation was actually insulation. Preparation for the revelation entering your body as you breathe. And now comes the truth that will shift everything. You were never the one under threat. Your awakening was the moment you began to rise, the moment you began to question, the moment you began to outgrow your circumstances. Forces that once fed on your confusion began to panic. They sensed your clarity approaching before you did. They understood the magnitude of who you are before you fully recognized it. That is why the spiritual pressure increased. That is why you were pushed into emotional overwhelm at unexpected times. That is why you battled fear that wasn't yours, sadness that had no source, exhaustion that made no sense. It was resistance, a last attempt to suppress what is now unstoppable. Because here, in this moment, you have crossed the line. Your consciousness has expanded beyond the reach of the darkness that once clouded your perception. Your spirit has awakened to a frequency that cannot be lowered. The truth you now hold cannot be taken from you, and the world you walk back into after this moment will not be the world you walked in from. Something has shifted. The old patterns will break. The old triggers will lose their power. The old insecurities will fall silent. And the old version of you, the one shaped by fear, by confusion, by invalidation, will not return. You are stepping into a season of spiritual intelligence. Your discernment will become sharper. Your intuition will become louder. Your dreams will carry meaning. Your senses will react before danger arrives. You will feel when someone is lying, when someone carries peace, when someone has an assignment in your life. Your spirit will not allow you to entertain what lowers your frequency. You will walk with clarity that feels unnatural to those still asleep. You will speak truths that rattle the atmosphere, and you will move through this world with a spiritual awareness that nothing in darkness can imitate or withstand. This is the moment your destiny begins to accelerate. This is the moment your spirit steps into authority. This is the moment your inner world aligns with the divine blueprint written for you before your birth. Nothing can stop what has awakened inside you. Nothing can undo what has been activated. Nothing can silence what has risen. Now rise with it.